Welcome to the Welsh Yogi Podcast. Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti-vedanta Swaminiti Namine.
Okay, listeners, welcome to another episode of the Welsh Yogi Podcast. This is episode number 76. You got myself, Gopala, Bhakta-rupa, Mr. Bhakta-pita, and here we have a special guest called Bhakta-Jack, who's just budding in his spiritual life. He's been living in the contemporary Vedic ashram in Cardiff for the last 6 months, you said, right? And he's just, it's always nice to have guests on the podcast, and people like to hear, okay, how did you get into spiritual life? How did you join the ashram? And I think so. We've seen this sort of positive transformational power of Krishna consciousness is always wonderful to see. And so let's dive into it, Jack. How are you feeling today?
Yeah, I'm feeling good, yeah.
Okay, so have you always been into spiritual life? How did you get onto this path? How was what was your journey?
I guess I just thought when I was about 16 or 17, I just thought I should just do meditation and yoga and stuff like that.
How old are you now?
I'm 23.
23.
Kind of just because I just thought, well, I might as well do it. It just seems like a good idea.
Uh-huh.
And then the more I kind of just threw myself into that world and that kind of stuff, things start to happen a bit more, and I had some so-called kind of maybe spiritual type experiences, when I was diving into that kind of thing. And
because you're quite a mystical personality.
Reiki master.
He's a Reiki master, everyone. So.
Is he?
Oh yeah.
What?
I can sense it off him.
How's my energy, Jack, today?
It's all right. You just it seems like you've just woken up maybe a bit. I don't know.
He's good. He's good. This kid is good.
When people say that to me, I don't like to
Well, that's what I say the other day is because we have one devotee, my Sharani, she used to do aura reading in our first centre in Cardiff, and she is quite mystical. Yeah, I used to get paranoid thinking maybe she could read my mind if I was ever in a room with her, and she was asking ask me something, I'd be like, don't think bad thoughts, don't think bad thoughts, don't think bad thoughts. And what happens then is you think of the most horrible thoughts you could possibly think of. So I was thinking, she probably thinks if she could read my mind, she probably thinks I'm mad. I'm thinking about murdering all the time or something. But she, where was I going with this? I'll get back to you.
Mind reading.
Yeah, she used to read auras, right?
Yeah.
And I used to say, but she doesn't do that anymore. She doesn't do any of the psychic stuff. And I asked why. And she said, well, it's like peeping through someone's bedroom window. You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So she's quite she's got a lot of integrity as a person. So I can believe she could do that. But I'm always asking, I think, because we've all got a third eye. Now, if you could think, if I could say, okay, I want to try and read everyone's auras now, I could see something. But how do I know that's just not my imagination? How do you know you're just not imagining it? That's the...
Wait, some of you said that we've all got a third eye. You said that very nonchalantly.
Yeah.
Well, devil's advocate, what are you on about? I don't have a third. I've got two eyes.
You got two eyeballs, yeah.
Yeah.
But here we go. Eye is the way you see, right? So you see through your eyes. So you have two eyeballs that you see through. But there's another, you see through other things also.
Like a subtle.
Yeah. I mean, again, Kandadi talks about this in Zat Paradigm. Talks about how the way vision works. Yeah.
Does that mean thoughts, they, what you're thinking about pervades a subtle space around you, or is that sort of thing?
Yeah. In the Bhagavatam, it talks about the science of how things manifest. So there's such a thing as, sound, for example. Sound becomes manifest first in subtle, then it manifests gross. So that might be a gross sound of me talking, but before that, like a thought, there's another little sentence you might say to yourself, or something that gets created before the speech comes out, and that's subtle sound. So it is a thing. It's just not on the in the gross body.
And I guess those subtle sounds are giving off some sort of reading that people are tuned into can pick up on.
Yeah, and there's a whole energy people can pick up on. That's why I was speaking to someone the other day, and they had a dog, this big dog, and it was used to be friendly to everyone. All the kids used to come out and pat it. He used to lie there waiting for the school kids to, as they walked past the fence, he used to lie there and they used to rub his belly. And he was such a lovely dog. There's only one person that he just went really out of character and went to attack. And they found out later that person was this butcher. They just used to, his job was just killing animals all the time, And the dog just picked up on that. You know what I mean? So yeah, dogs are sensitive.
Wow.
Apart from the dog next door, which is just doesn't like devotees, I guess. So where were we, Jack? So tell us about your mystic experiences.
So I don't know. I kind of just threw myself blindly into just meditation and stuff, like without knowing anything about spirituality really, and kind of just literally just went through it all on my own kind of thing. And like the more I kind of did it, I was having these kind of different kinds of experiences where like different kinds of things would come in, like different energies and different kind of like, I guess you could call them like maybe entities and stuff. I don't know.
Subtle beings.
Yeah, and and then I could once I kind of opened up that whole world of stuff, it kind of all started maybe like playing out a little bit in my reality a bit more, and I think I could see things and like, I don't know. And then once I kind of got the ball rolling with that kind of thing, things like started happening. I don't know, I guess it kind of maybe I don't know, awakened some sort of desire for spiritual life or something. Like I know there's something more, so therefore I'm like asking more questions, because you hear about like once you asking a question, you start to be like led towards like
questions are the answer.
So yeah, I guess more things like that were opening up and stuff, so I was like asking questions and trying to figure things out. And I like ended up in like a Buddhist temple because I couldn't really find anyone that really resonated me with, like, or anyone that I could match with. Like I was trying to explain all these things that was happening when I was doing these kind of meditations and stuff to people, and I kind of just made myself seem a bit mad, and like it was making me a bit depressed.
Bhakta-rupa is still there. Anyway.
Yeah, so am I.
Try to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. I'll just keep my mouth shut. You fools. You foolish people. I just won't even. Yeah.
You won't understand what I know.
Yeah.
You don't have the capabilities.
Yeah. How did you know other living beings were coming in there? Other living entities, like subtle.
There was kind of just like a presence, and like it was all like with like visualizations, and then there'd be like kind of like auditory stuff going on and stuff. And like sometimes it was like way more kind of like a dark stuff happening. A lot of like kind of like nicer things as well.
Or be an example.
And they would always like come in like to dreams and stuff as well. Like it just opened up this kind of world for me. Like,
or would it be like a fairy or like some sort of angel?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Yeah.
And you could see it.
Yeah, it's like visualizations like coming to you and stuff, and
like a face.
Yeah, or like a face.
Hang on a minute.
Like,
was he called Zorgon?
Yeah. Bhakta-rupa's met him.
I've met many, but I'm just wondering how yours. And they come like little twinkles in your vision, or?
I guess you can kind of just tell. Like it's not necessarily so much just like an
intuition.
It's more like a sense in it. You can tell someone's in the room.
It's not just like you see a face like this, like looking at you. Like
it's holding up.
It can be a bit. It can be a bit. I haven't really delved into it for a long time, and
yeah, that's the thing. It's got to be careful.
Your memory kind of goes a bit. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I remember have I told you a story before? We went to an Airbnb in Guildford. I was like doing Sankirtan, and I was on my own. I was like probably the first time I ever went on Sankirtan on my own. And then I told this story in the podcast probably.
Well, it's been a while, so I can't even remember it.
Anyway, it was an Airbnb. It was quite new, so I opened the door. Old lady answered the door. Hello. I was like, I'm here to stay the night. My name's Tom. I booked on Airbnb. Oh yes, Tom, welcome. Come in. It's a very old house. She goes, you'll be staying in this wing. Oh. This wing belonged to my husband, who passed away just a few weeks ago.
Oh my God.
This is where he used to spend all his time. You could stay there. I was like, okay, thank you. So I closed the door. I'm sitting there. I had some rounds of chants. I'm chanting my japa and sitting there quietly. And I'm just like in this room where I could see it, and then I start walking around and start seeing all his books, all this stuff. And I start to get this overwhelming feeling like I'm not alone in this room.
Oh my God.
And then it started to freak me out so much that I was ended up talking out loud to the room saying, I am here. I am a Hare Krishna. I mean you no harm. I'm here distributing books on God. I thank you. I thank you very much. I thank you for letting me in your home, oh spirit. And I thought to myself, like, I shouldn't be on my own. Like, am I just going mad? Yeah. Just talking to myself. Yeah. So that's what I thought. Like, yeah.
Did he reply?
No, he didn't reply, but yeah, well, he replied in a subtle way. I got the feeling like, okay, he's happy you have me now.
Nice.
Oh, that's sweet.
Well, that was that time you got possessed, Bhakta-rupa, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was an Airbnb.
Yeah.
It was in like an old barn conversion, and there was all of these like creepy paintings of dolls on the walls.
Oh my God.
Do you remember that?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
there's like the Victorian looking, very creepy. And I was knackered. I was so tired after distributing books all day that I just went to bed. Like I just fell to sleep with all my clothes on. Like I just flopped on the bed and passed out. And then like maybe a couple hours later, Vamshi came in because there was like 2 single beds, and like I could just feel I was so agitated more than usual. I was just like, and my vision had like a blue tint to it. Like I remember it quite. And he shut the curtains next to me. And I kind of like quickly like shot out of bed and opened the curtains. I said, I want them open. And then he was like, no, I went back to bed, and you could see he was like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
And then
And you remember all this,
I remember watching it. Like it was like I was a witness to it. This is real, like.
Yeah.
And then and then he was walking around, and I was just getting furious. And like I shot up again in bed. I was like, "Stop tippy-toeing around!"
To Vamsi.
Yeah. And he was like freaked out at that point. And then
Bhakta-rupa was like, oh, sorry, I must have been possessed. When actually it's just him being a bit of a...
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, but no, it wasn't me. I was being possessed by a ghost. It wasn't me just being moody. Good save.
That's the outside guitar.
Yeah. So it's a good way of
Yeah. If you ever have a fight with your
sidestepping responsibility.
partner, and you just say, like, it wasn't me, I was possessed by someone. And
But yeah, I was kind of having like them kind of experience happen to me when I was quite young and didn't really know anything about spiritual life or anything. And yeah, I guess it kind of freaked me out a bit.
Yeah, they attack you, the entities, when you're in a more vulnerable state as well, isn't it? So like if you just go to bed without doing your bedtime routine, you're kind of, you know what I mean? You're like fully clothed. It's a bit more ignorant. It's a bit more like lower energy anyway.
Yeah. Have you
like-
ever had sleep paralysis?
Oh, I've had
They're
it
meant to
loads
be
of
the
times.
living entities, aren't they? Like,
I had on Halloween once when we were in the Brahmachari ashram. I was on the bunk above Daichari, and I remember I looked through the bars. Top bunk I looked through the bars, and like there was a shadow stood there looking at me, and I was like, Daichari, but I couldn't speak. I was just like, and then I opened my eyes, and the shadow was gone. And I was like, what the? And I was like trying to scream, Daichari, but my mouth couldn't. And I was frozen there. And every time I closed my eyes, this entity was just stood there staring at me.
that's so scary.
And the entity had like some kind of terror potency. Like it was making me feel terrified. But I was just kind of witnessing it, like, because we've been doing a lot of Hare Krishna. Like I was full on deep into like, I was reading a lot of Bhagavatam and chanting a lot more than usual. So I was just like watching it, like this thing is applying terror to me, but I was a bit detached from it. And I remember I couldn't chant Hare Krishna to get rid of it. So there's a poster of Prabhupada, like, and I remember looking at his feet in this poster, and I was just in my mind visualize Prabhupada's feet, like because they say take shelter of the lotus feet of the spiritual master, and I was just like meditating on like the shelter of Prabhupada, and it was like lightning, like it just like zapped. The ghost was just like, oh, forget this, like it was too powerful, and like it was putting its terror potency on me, but I was just ecstatic. I was just like, I overpowered it. Well, I didn't, but Prabhupada came in, you know, like you said the light energy or something.
Yeah.
It was like this. He didn't stand a chance. He's just on Halloween out trying to freak out someone, and he gets me.
That's funny.
There's
Because there's two things about this, right? Either it's true, and it's like, oh yeah, that's a nice Bhakta-rupa, yeah, God, Krishna saved you, or it's just you imagining it. You're just sitting on your own on top of your bunk bed, like, oh, Prabhupada, yeah, I've beaten you. Sitting on your own, like in the dark, yeah.
No, but you Google it. There's like old English folklore of this type of ghost.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah.
It's
I'm
like-
just saying if you don't. Yeah.
What
They're
type
like-
of ghost is it?
If you type in sleep paralysis ghost, it's something like a chest wizard or something like that.
The chest wizard.
Like it sits on your chest.
Remember that time you were attacked by the chest wizard? You used your powers to.
Because he sits on your chest.
You're not really doing your story any
A
favors.
witch. I've got a witch on your chest.
It's called a witch on your chest. Wizard witch. Mine was a man.
I mean, Srimad Bhagavatam, it does describe that there are ghosts, and it calls them, because there's two-legged beings, there's four-legged beings, there's beings with many legs. Ghosts are described as one-legged beings. They've got one leg, which is quite interesting. Like if you think of Casper, the friendly ghost and stuff, you know, they've just got that little tail. Where were we, Jack?
But can I just because what you say,
Yeah,
just
sorry,
to
go on,
make
sorry.
the story more bona fide, is like these ghosts in the Bhagavatam are described as real beings.
Yeah.
And because they're subtle beings, they're trapped in a subtle realm and they can't interact with this gross world. And they might have desires of this gross world. They might want to enjoy materially or physically, but they can't. So they purposely target vulnerable persons and they'll take over them and try to sort of satisfy a certain desire through them. And they're especially attracted to when people are talking about them. So because we're talking about ghosts now, we're attracting ghosts. And because the listener, you're listening about ghosts, you're attracting ghosts. Just so you know. But the significance of that is that thing happened to me on Halloween, where everyone's walking around talking about ghosts and ghouls and spirits.
Yeah.
So at that time, they're attracted. Because they say there's a ghost planet, Rahu,
Yeah, which is quite close to Earth.
quite close to Earth. There's this.
I mean, it's ironic because Halloween originally was meant to scare away all the ghosts. That's why you dress up as like, dress up as fearful things. It's meant to scare the ghosts away.
How do we get here?
I just thought about that story with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and his disciple.
And the ghost, yeah.
Yeah, when he kind of lets out a powerful Harry Bowl and the ghost is like destroyed.
Yeah.
It's,
Srila Prabhupada said, I am ghost proof. When they went to St. John Ellen's house, it was, they had this little apartment that was in his garden and it was very haunted and they had like Hindu priests, Christian exorcists, all sorts of people, witch doctors, shamans to come and try and exorcise the place. But no one would. Everyone would just run out. But Prabhupada went there. He got the devotees and they did a big kirtan. And you could feel it was all the whole atmosphere got lifted. And yeah, it was free.
Didn't you say there was like Shiva Ramaraj and Tarkanath? Wasn't there some story where like Tarkanath woke up in the middle of the night?
It wasn't Tarkanath. It was someone else. But yeah, there was. We always end up going into this sort of realm, doing like that.
When we have guests like Jack, yeah. The subtle beings.
The spaceman.
It's like
Cosmonaut.
Spaceman. I always wanted you to go spaceman. Right, Jack.
Yeah.
So how are you come into chanting Hare Krishna?
Yeah, so because I had these kind of things going on, I was kind of like looking for spiritual people I could maybe connect with and stuff. And I ended up, first of all, started going to a Buddhist temple in Swansea.
Mm-hmm.
And I was getting into that for a bit. I was taking it quite seriously, actually, for a good few months.
What did you learn there? What was the takeaway from staying at the Buddhist centre?
I would say mainly like controlling the mind.
Uh-huh.
And controlling the mind kind of, they really humbled me actually and kind of prepared me to come here. I say a lot because like I was a bit mad and a bit crazy with all my previous kind of experience and ideas going in there, and then I went in there and kind of just was told them everything kind of thing. Like just turned up one day and then they
I
kind
did
of
that when I first came to the Hare Krishna.
yeah
Lay it all on the table.
Yeah, and they kind of just like all right, like who cares kind of thing, like. But but I just got into like silent meditation and stuff and was like meditating on the chakras and stuff like that. But yeah, eventually because Reese was living there, I met Reese and then he brought me to a kirtan one night and then I just started coming every week basically.
Yeah.
And it just was, I found it much more attractive. And I was coming to Cairtown without reading anything for a long time, and I don't know, there was just something about the devotees, like just seeing like all these like young boys my age like practicing spiritual life seriously. I was like, well, there's just obviously something going on here.
There's nothing like it.
There's no way all these people have just decided to become monks like for no reason. And and like I say, I'd never met anyone before that I can kind of relate to and stuff, and so it was just really nice. And then I just kept coming to Cairtown, and then I read Bhagavad Gita and stuff. And when I read the Gita, I was really like blown away, because I was into a lot. I was like kind of taking a lot of different spiritual things, bringing them together, and like making my own thing, kind of thing. But then I don't know, when I read the Gita, I just couldn't really deny it, and it just really resonated with me, like based on the way I kind of saw things, and how blown away by like how clear it was and stuff. And also like with all the I don't know, kind of like all the stories, like when it's talking about like the sun god and like
ancient information.
I was just like, wow, this is just like amazing. Like, because I was into like ancient Egypt and stuff, and I knew they worshipped the sun and things like this. So when I like read that in there, I was like, because I was just like blown away by how kind of like non-sectarian it was, and how it like Prabhupada, you know, when he like says really on in the introduction, when he's like talking about like not being a Hindu, Christian, Muslim and stuff, because you can just change your faith, like
and the start of the Bhagavad you mentioned, it uses this this word summum bonum. What is the absolute truth? Like if they say in the Bible, it says the beginning was the word, but the Greek, I think it says in the beginning there was logos, which means like consciousness, logos, like logic. It's that idea of exploring consciousness, and the spiritual side of life isn't the monopoly of any particular religion, but in different religions. We talked about that last week in the podcast, actually. I'll read something out quick. You just sparked my memory, Jack. Read this out the other day in our Sankirtan festival. But when you're talking about, when you start reading the books, just get this dust cover off. Okay. Right, so this is someone who just got a Bhagavad Gita, or one of Srila Prabhupada's books, and he's brand new, and he just starts reading it, and then he writes. So this person is brand new to spiritual life, brand new to Prabhupada's books, and he writes a letter after reading it. So this is his reflection. Okay, his name's Jeff. He said, all of these books stand out in a kind of unusual way. For His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, to have translated so many texts at such a time and so accurately into such an alien language is itself a superhuman accomplishment. That alone is difficult to imagine doing, but that is not the strength of these books. The unique thing is the quality and detail that was put into the purports. They're not lip service like they would be in any other book of translation. It's obvious that his entire soul has been put into this writing, as if the ink is made of faith and philosophy and love. But love for Krishna and for duty, not love for the feelings of the reader. The words are demanding and sharp, as they should be. You know how the word of Krishna is Krishna? It's of that same sort of caliber. He accomplished that, or as close to it as any spirit can. That's how powerful the devotional service was that he put into this task. It made the result transcendental to that degree.
That's nice.
Cool, isn't it?
Really nice.
Yeah, I just appreciate it, Jack, when you're talking about, just doing kirtan, and then you start reading the books, and Prabhupada's just this truth. He's like, he said, he's demanding, and but very confident and speaking like, okay, this is what it is. And it just has such a powerful effect. I mean, before coming in contact with Srila Prabhupada's books, then there's nothing really that comes close in terms of the tangible spiritual potency. That's just these books are just dripping with.
Yeah, I remember like reading as well, like that really stood out to me was when it says like Krishna's the supreme personality of Godhead.
Yeah.
Because I kind of like believed like there was like higher beings and stuff, and like demigods and kind of this kind of thing. And like I kind of thought there was like a source like to it all, but I guess I kind of looked at it more in like an impersonal way, like I guess. And then like he's like talking about how there's like a supreme person like above all of that, and then there's like a spiritual world and stuff, and like I was just like really blown away by that.
It's interesting how we started this podcast talking about feeling the presence of entities, but when we practice, you know, kirtan and chanting, actually we have the experience that we can feel Krishna's presence sometimes, you know, and that's what makes the whole thing so much more real, is this feeling that you get of Krishna's presence sometimes when you're reading or chanting or doing kirtan. There's a story with didn't a lady ask Prabhupada about in a class about how can you prove Krishna is real, or was that Prabhupada asking that question? Do you know this story?
I think there's a few stories like that. But it's what you're saying, like she said, because you could feel it, or Prabhupada said because you could feel it, right?
I think Prabhupada was testing his disciples, and he was asking them to prove, you know, how can you prove Krishna's real? Yeah. And, you know, they were coming up with certain examples from scripture, but Prabhupada was saying, no, you know, keep going. And then I think eventually someone made the point that they know Krishna's real because of the direct experience that they get from practicing Krishna consciousness.
I remember that. I think that's in Juhu. But yeah, I get, because what we were talking about in the last podcast as well, this whole idea of, was it the last one? The Sambandha Abhideya Prayojana? Yeah,
happy days.
So yeah. So the Prayojana is the experience. That's why it is, you know, it's verifiable to your own mind and senses. And ultimately that is how you verify something. It becomes like an undeniable experience.
I was wondering, just a question on that point. We read also that the senses that we have are imperfect. So how can we trust the experience that we're getting from them in that regard if they're not quite complete? Do you know what I mean?
What do you think, Jack? How do you answer that?
Can you say it again?
So we're told that the
senses are imperfect.
The senses we have are imperfect. That's one of the items of being a conditioned being. Yeah. So how can we trust them when we say, you know, we feel Krishna's presence during the kirtan or the chanting, or, you know, if our senses are imperfect, how can we have faith that? Yeah,
I mean, it's a tricky question, isn't it? Like, because when people ask me on the street sometimes, like, how do you know this is all real? I kind of just like giggle a bit, and I'm just like, well,
how do you know anything's real?
I don't know. It's like you say, like, just having experiences you can't really deny. You can try to understand things like based off your knowledge and like just trying to understand it through your mind and thinking. But I don't know. I think when you just know, you know, like when you're in a kirtan or when you're doing japa, or if you read something that really stands out to you, it will just touch your heart, kind of thing, and it's beyond kind of any of that. And it's not really something you can just mundanely kind of feel or understand or experience. You kind of just got to get a bit stuck in. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately,
that's a good answer. But
yeah, you know, there's a check and balance system also. You know, if you have you might have, okay, is this a spiritual feeling, and you check with, you know, that's why we have these books, you know, the Shastra, or the books of knowledge. You have other people also who are practicing it. Yeah, and you have other people who might be further on in the path. So that's why it's always good to have a check and balance system. Okay, I'm experiencing this. Is this right? Or, you know, like when Prabhupada was around, we were doing a kirtan, someone said to Prabhupada, wow, when I chant, I see all these amazing colours. And Prabhupada said, don't worry, keep chanting and they will go away. So sometimes we might think something's like, you know, so it's good to have it's a science. It's good to have a check and balance system. Like any scientific experiment, like we say this all the time, but, you know, I'm getting this result. You go back to the teacher. Okay, this is what the result I'm getting. Is this the result I'm meant to get? And the teacher might say yes, no. Oh, that's strange. Let's see what's your apparatus like? Are you doing it properly? So that's why it's good to have a check and balance to see, like, okay, are these feelings I'm experiencing genuine? Yeah, I mean, true spiritual feelings are like extremely overwhelming. So most of the time in our conditioned nature, we experience like an abhasa, or like a shadow of real spiritual life. But that's what, you know, the proof of the pudding's in eating. They say, like, you know, so if you're performing the experiment, you're getting an experience, and this experience is verified by all the other people who have done this, then there's no reason not to. Then you're being more irrational to just disregard it, just out of just, like you said, you could be driving down, if it's raining, you're driving down the motorway, you're in your car and you've got your windscreen wipers going, you see other cars driving, you can't see who's inside, but you can infer that, okay, there's probably someone in there driving like I am. And that's like logic. You can't see that, but there's no reason to, there comes a certain point where you can just you can dismiss anything.
Yeah.
It's interesting though. Krishna will draw you in through your senses sometimes. Like you said about these visions that lady had. Like I remember when I was getting into Krishna consciousness, I was really into like visions and like a bit more of like a psychedelic outlook on reality.
Yeah.
You as well. And I remember in the kirtan, sometimes I was getting like these fireworks shows, like with the cartels. There's one time where Mantra was playing like double beat, and it was like crazy, like but it's like Krishna, almost like he'll come down to your level and attract you on your low level. Oh, he likes the sensual, visual, material thing. Okay, have a bit of that. And like what you said, over time it just goes away, and you kind of gradually get drip fed what Krishna consciousness is and like what's important through the philosophy, through the books, through the devotees, that those visions then become like, that's not even like scratching what Krishna consciousness, the potential of what this experience can be. So it's like, then the visions become a bit like, okay, I don't even need them. And then you don't get them anymore. It's like, Krishna consciousness, I'm supposed to be like reestablishing my true nature, my relationship with God, and it's much sweeter and nicer. Like there's a much better reality than just having some psychedelic visions and speculating on them. Like, do you know what I mean? Like there's more to the game than that. Like what Jack was saying, we think that when we come into it, the creator is some energy source that everything comes out of. But much better than an energy source, it's like a cute cowherd boy who plays a flute with wonderful melodies, who lives in Vrindavan, full of flowers and fruits, and you know what I mean? Like there's a whole vision that Prabhupada presents then of the spiritual world and Krishna and the gopis and the cowherd boys, and it's just way cooler.
Yeah, there's only so far you can get through your own mental gymnastics. So like through logic, you might be able to understand, okay, there's a source of all energies, then what's in the source should be what's in the the product of it. Where does consciousness come from? The source should also be the source of consciousness. So is the source conscious or not? But then therefore if it's conscious, that has a personality. Therefore the source of everything also is a person. And then that personality, well, does he have a body? Does he have senses? If he's completely complete, then if you say the complete has no body, has no senses, then can't be complete. It's got to have everything. Have it and not have it at the same time, be completely. But then when you get into more of the actual, does this personality have likes and dislikes? If it's a source of all attractiveness, then part of being a person is to have that, and that makes people more attractive and more, do we have likes and dislikes because they exist in the source? So the fact that God has many forms, and specifically one of his forms is Krishna, has sham-coloured transcendental spiritual body. The sham colour is we describe it as blackish blue, but obviously that colour doesn't exist in the material world. Can't be perceived with material senses. It's so beautiful. He engages in most unparalleled loving pastimes in Vrindavan. And then by inference you can understand maybe there's a God, maybe there's a personality, but then it's through or sort of revelation or it's revealed that this is who he is as a person. Bhakti Mama Vajananti, Krishna said, only by devotional service can I be understood, not just through using a brain power. Why did we get onto that? Well, you mentioned something back to you. Krishna, like
impersonal source. And
he's not just like a source of energy, but he's a cowherd boy in Vrindavan, and he loves you. He's your beloved. It says in the 11th canto, when one realizes that the whole universe and everything in creation is under control of one's most dear, most best friend, and the highest well-wisher, then the whole universe becomes blissful. If you fully realize that, because your well-wisher is in complete control. So, anything that comes your way is, it's got love behind it.
Yeah, that's how advanced devotees see it. Say, okay, everything's part of Krishna, everything comes from Krishna. So everything's in control by my Suhridam Sarvabhutanam, the most dear friend of all living entities, and I'll also use all this energy in order to give love back to the source, to Krishna. So then, even in this material world, there's every activity is all about having a intimate, loving exchange with Krishna, using their energies in order to connect to Krishna, using everything in this material world and your body and your life in order to connect to God, and then He will reciprocate. This is real spiritual life. It's not like the spiritual world is there and we're in the material world. But for those who actually see, they can say, okay, can be used as the spiritual world. Just like an electrical port, you can either plug a heater in or you can plug a fridge in. It's the same electricity, but how you use it determines whether it's hot or cold. So what makes it material is whether you use it in Krishna's service or not. If you start trying to use it in Krishna's service, then Krishna will reciprocate. And you will see Krishna. Then it will be undeniable.
It's very demanding, though. It's like when you were reading that quote about Prabhupada's books, like he's saying Prabhupada's words are very demanding. And I'm noticing that it's like you get in there through all of the material things, like I say, the visions and whatever. Then you start realizing the goal of life. Then you start serving Krishna. But then sometimes in the journey, you pull back a little bit. Like what I mean? Like you don't want to kind of, you misuse your independence a little bit. I think everyone has some experience of that.
Yeah, it's faith, isn't it? You got to really just, like Srila Prabhupada, the only thing I'm asking you to give up is your suffering.
Yeah.
We keep want to smack our heads against the wall.
Yeah.
The people are trying to stop us, and we just carry on running back to it.
Yeah. I read in Ishopanishad yesterday, it said something like suffering is a reminder of our incompatibility with dead matter. It's just like sometimes but it's funny because it seems demanding, but it's much more demanding to be in the material world. And like where Jack is now, 6 months in, this is awesome, isn't it?
Yeah. Just seeing him as a person, how much he's grown spiritually. It's nice. And that's the thing, isn't it?
Blissful as well.
There's a point where your own experience should be valid. Okay, if it is checking up to what I'm meant to experience, and I can see him going the right way, which is why if someone says, okay, give me directions to get, you ask them to get, okay, I need directions to get to a place. On the way, you're not there yet, but everything they're saying that you're going to see on the way is right. You'll see this shop and you'll take a left there. Okay, yeah. So why would you not believe that I can get to the end destination? And there's a certain level where someone could just deny it completely so much. It's just like, oh yeah, but you could be imagining it. It could be this, could be that. These books are, you can just keep denying it all you want. And if that's the case, at a certain point you have to go, okay, fine. You carry on living your life, and you try and get the happiness you want from this life. You try and work out, how to have a relationship with God. Just go enjoy yourself. You know what I mean? Show us how to do it better. Someone just say, oh, that's not true. And they'll just go off, okay, fine, go on. Carry on enjoying the material world. And we'll carry on living a blissful life of Krishna consciousness, and I'll meet you at the end.
I always think it's difficult to know how you're doing, but other people can kind of judge a little bit better. Like you asked me, like, how am I doing? How am I getting on? And I kind of didn't really know what to say. I can't really tell. But other people can kind of see a bit more, I think.
Yeah, usually your parents can actually see that you're becoming or you're your friends and family, they're quite in awe that
you've changed.
Why are you so peaceful? Why are you doing the dishes now? What's wrong with you?
A lot of time people see, and they see such a positive change.
Yeah, I get the question a lot on the street, so are you happy? Are you happy? And I'm kind of you are, you're happy, but it's not, I don't often know what to kind of say back, because it's not on the same way they can kind of perceive happy. So I don't want to just be I'm happy, because it's not really like that. It's it's a bit kind of different. Do you know what I mean?
On that last podcast as well, didn't we? How Prabhupada said you'll be happy, but in a way that you don't even understand. So I remember someone said happiness is if you're going to listen to a piece of music that was happy, it's just like elevator music type thing. But if you think about the real experiences in music that really deeply affected me, made you feel something that's really profound, It's not just, oh yeah, we're happy. You know, it's got all the emotions there, but they're there to like a deep degree that's meant to like really moves your heart. You know, so it's like, yeah, once you're getting into spiritual life a little bit, it becomes more that when someone says you're happy, you just think, well, that type of happiness is very cheap compared to what I am experiencing. You know, so I could say no. Like, so what's, yeah, I'm always like that. What's the right answer? I can say yes. You know, in order for you to, but there's so, you know, you have advanced devotees who devotees are crying out of compassion because they feel the pain of all the other living entities. You know? But that experience is like a completely different, you know, emotion that's not burdened and burdened with the like this material sort of staleness that accompanies everything else when you think of an emotion that's within the material world. You can be happy, sad, scared, enthusiastic, hopeful, all of these things, but in a spiritual way. And the only one thing I've never experienced is being bored since I've become a devotee. Yeah, I remember being bored. Remember you used to be bored all the time? Like, what do I scrolling for the...
Not knowing what to do.
Yeah. That's one thing I haven't experienced ever since starting Krishna College. I've never been bored, you know? Loads of other things, like being stressed or, you know, excited and, you know, all these different things, but I've never been bored.
Yeah.
There's always so much to do. Bhakti Rupa?
Sometimes we do bucket collections in the supermarket.
Oh yeah, you get bored.
That's pretty boring. Sorry, I didn't mean to, but I get the point.
Well, you're not doing it properly.
Definitely not doing it properly. Like.
I've had some blissful times in the supermarket.
Yeah, it's there definitely, but if you're in the wrong headspace, that's boring.
What you were saying about happiness, it reminded me of that story with Srila Prabhupada when he's the devotees see his picture of him.
He took sannyas.
Yeah. And anyway, the devotees see the picture and I can't tell the story actually. I can't really remember how it goes, but what was it?
It was Prabhupada where they took a picture of when he took sannyas, when he took the Lamb's Order of Life, and Prabhupada looked very grave. And they said, Prabhupada, you don't look very... Yeah, he said, that was the happiest day of my life. And I said, Prabhupada, you don't look very happy in this picture. And he said, you don't even know what happiness is. You know? Like a lot, at least, again, you know, a lot of people, they define happiness by just their freedom from distress. You know, the old example, you hit a dog, if you stop hitting it, it'll start wagging its tail, thinks it's happy. It's not happy, it's just not, you know, being hit anymore. So when people go out, they work all week and they go out on the weekend, you get intoxicated, you know, blow your brains out, so you just completely forget the suffering that you're going through. People say, I become more sociable when I'm drunk, so you forget the inhibitions that were there, and you think, I'm happy now. But by comparison, someone said, well, that's not real happiness. You're just not suffering as much as you were. You know, the burden has been temporarily lifted. Like when there used to be one of the, I don't know if it was a mode of torture. They would put some under the water until they're just about to drown and then lift them up for a little gasp of air and then push them back down. And you know, that gasp of air would be such a relief, but then be shoved down the water again. So people might have a go on a little 1 week holiday or something and feel like a little gasp of air before they're thrown back under. You know, and a lot of people, those gasps of air are the best things they can hope for in this life. If you're just chasing the material dream.
And then when you join, in my experience, when you first, when I joined the ashram, it was so amazing because you actually experience all these negative clouds kind of dispersing. It's like the sun coming through the sky, you know. And
it's one of the symptoms of bhakti.
Yeah, the effect of just chanting every morning, the morning program, the association, the prasadam, the spiritual food. It's like all these clouds, they just disperse, you know. And then I remember one of the monks telling me when I was coming to one of the Friday programs, he told me, you know, you've got to remember this feeling, you know, because we have the tendency to become, you know, familiar with our surroundings over time, isn't it? And then we might forget actually where we came from before. And
yeah, you always pain bears no memory. You always look at rose-tinted glasses. Yeah, it's one of the symptoms of bhakti is that it removes suffering when you come to it. But that removal of suffering isn't enough to keep you in the long haul. Because after some time, I'm not suffering anymore. But I look back, hey, I wasn't so bad. You know, I used to enjoy those things or whatever. So to move forward in spiritual life, okay, you get relief from suffering, but then you have to actively cultivate a relationship with Krishna.
and that's the demanding part that I was going to touch on. Like sometimes we ease up on the demanding side of Krishna consciousness, and then we're surprised that we're not blissful anymore. You know, like, oh yeah, whatever, I'll do it tomorrow. Or, you know, like, oh, I can't be bothered to do anything. Like, especially when you're not in the ashram. A lot of people listening might not be in the ashram. You have the choice to not bother.
You got to sacrifice.
And then if you don't bother, then it becomes less and less real. Like, you become covered, and those clouds, they do come back very quickly. You know. So
you don't know they're there, kind of thing as well. Right?
Well, it's just listening to you guys speak now. It's making me feel inspired to be like, actually, yeah, I'm going to pull my finger out and make my practices a little bit sharper and experience some of this happiness, like chase some of this happiness. Like, you know that Kid Cudi song? I'm in the pursuit of happiness.
Who's that?
I know. Kid Cudi. You know it, yeah?
Yeah, I know that song.
Kid Cudi.
Kid Cudi.
Yeah, I'm in the pursuit of happiness.
Never heard of it.
We could play it, but it's a banger.
You reminded me about a story. Prabhupada told this story. Again, I should prepare these things before. It's about someone who's worshipping Durga, I think, is at a temple. And he comes to the deity and he asks the deity, can I have... No, I can't remember the story now. Can I have... He asked for something. You know, can you give me a house, please? Durga says, okay, and he said, well, I'll give you a pot of gold. And then Durga's like, okay, yeah, here you go. Here's the benediction. I have a pot of gold. And he goes away, and then he's gone for a while. And Durga's like, well, where's this person? And then he comes back later, asks for something, and she says, well, you didn't give me a pot of gold. He said, oh, sorry, I can't give you that. I'll give you a bowl of fruit. And he goes, okay, I'll accept that. And he goes away, and he comes back. And eventually, like, his offerings this happens a few times. She says, okay, well, you know, and he says, can I give you something else? And in the end, it gets to the point where Durga says, okay, well, he said, well, I'll give you a fly from outside. I'll just catch a fly and give it to you.
Sorry.
And Durga says, yeah, okay. And then the person goes, well, that's a fly. I mean, you can just get that yourself. And he just walks off, you know? So I think it was just telling the story like, well, there's got to be some sacrifice in the relationship. Otherwise, basically, you're just doing it just to take advantage. You know, so there has to be a loving relationship there. There has to be sacrifice on both sides. Something like that. Maybe if I'll get the story in a better way, maybe say it in another podcast, but that was the gist of it.
It's interesting because, like, started, like, associating with future wife kind of thing. I'm realizing,
Are you engaged? Properly?
Not with a ring, but yeah.
Are you gonna go down one knee?
I just gotta get some. If anyone wants to send me a diamond ring,
Yeah.
I'll get engaged tomorrow. Like, I just need the ring. Like, but yeah, we're
Bhakta-rupa is courted.
Yeah, courting. It's old school.
Yeah.
But yeah, what I'm saying that what you
Probably
said
listening
there,
to this podcast. So be careful.
Yeah,
But
she's great.
She is great. You say nothing but nice things to her.
She's the best.
Champaka.
Yeah, you just realize with relationships it's about give and take and sacrifice and things like that. Like, it's interesting. It seems to be setting me up for, like, it's just understanding a bit more about what service is directed at a person. You know, like, because in the ashram, I was very much on my own program and like, okay, I've got to do my reading for me and Krishna and service and da-da-da. It's like an interesting, okay, now I'm learning the dynamics of service, even on a material platform. Because ultimately we're trying to cultivate Krishna consciousness, but also as a material type of service, which, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta, back to Tirtha Maharaj said that, he said sometimes devotees, you know, getting married means to learn how to love someone. Yeah. And it's not just, I mean, even a lot of, like, relationships these days can be based on exploitation. Yeah. You satisfy me, I'll satisfy you. If you don't satisfy me anymore, then I'll just go find another partner. You know? So the benefits of having like a, you know, wedlock or something in marriage is that, okay, yeah, there might be difficult times, but you going through them for each other is what makes the relationship stronger. And then the relationship becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. If you don't have that sort of like, what's the word? Yeah, commitment, then the relationship won't mature that much, because if if the other person isn't pleasing you anymore, then okay, I'll just go find someone else.
Exactly, yeah. And I think that's one of the main benefits in my experience of getting initiated as well. It's like you have the burden of the vows that you made. So it's like, okay, I have to follow these rules and I have to chant my 16 rounds come hell or high water. Like, I have to do it. Like, I actually can't not. And it's actually such a burden. It's like a burden of love. And it's like, oh, okay, now I'm bound to chanting Hare Krishna, whether I like it or not. So it's actually good because you're at least staying connected, no matter, like. So I'm grateful for that, having done that while I was all fired up and excited. Because now it's like when the fire dies down it's just like seasons, isn't it? Winter, spring, summer. Sometimes you have a little winter season, and it's like, at least I'm still chanting. Can't take that away from me. But it's cool. It's interesting just changing up the ashrams and changing your perspective on people that aren't inside the ashram. Like, it's all kind of, I'm getting a more well-rounded vision of life and life in relation to Krishna consciousness. Like, okay, there's different stresses, different people around.
Yeah, that's why they're called ashrams. Yeah. Ashram means like a shelter. So you pick an ashram where you could be sheltered in order to practice spiritual life. It's like, Jack, you're on the contemporary Vedic ashram. Wait a minute, right? So this is where like young men come and they kind of work, study, or just do full-time service. But they could, so if you are working or study, they could be around other people, who, like-minded people, and move forward in spiritual life. And if someone wants to, then they can move on to either Grihastha ashram or Brahmachari ashram, which is because we used to just have everyone just join the Brahmachari ashram, but then it becomes like a bit of a melting pot. So to have like another place which is like, people can find themselves a little bit, find their footing a little bit before moving forward is always a very good thing. Like, but do you have any plans for the future, Jack? Would you like to join the Brahmachari ashram in the future?
Yeah.
Go into Orange?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the, if someone has the opportunity, we said this before, yes, it is, you should take it. It's a real amazing, special kind of life. And if you're talking about that, our feeling of like firsthand, do you have a feeling Krishna's real or whatever? If you want to test it and do full-time service and jump into the Brahmachari ashram, you're doing full-time spiritual life now. And I think that is, if you really submerge yourself like that, Krishna reciprocates. It's absolutely undeniable. You become as sure that Krishna exists as sure that you exist and you are conscious. To the point where it's like beyond, through logic I can, infer that this is true, but I've convinced to a level that goes beyond that. Didami Buddha Yogam Tami Enamamopyantate. Krishna gives you the understanding. And it's confirmed. And again, like I say, if someone says, well, I'm not believe that, well, try it. You don't go and do full-time service, jump in the ashram for a few years, perform the experiment and then tell me.
It's actually true, because like now there's no doubt, like obviously Krishna's real. And if you don't agree with it, I don't even really care. Like, fine. Like, it's real. Like, I've had the experience. You know what I mean? Like, you can't switch me up now.
So someone can't take that away from you.
Yeah, it's
right.
like, it's okay, cool. You just reciprocate with Krishna in a different way for now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's,
yes,
God's real. Like, I'm sorry.
That's when I come forward and say, well, maybe they say, okay, well, show me something else. Show me what's the alternative. Show me an alternative that makes more sense than this and gives me a better experience. Yeah. We didn't come up here like you, Jack, right? You don't think, oh yeah, you know what? I just thought about this. I'm going to find out. I want to become a Hare Krishna monk.
No.
We're looking for that. You're just looking for the truth.
Yeah.
If someone shows me something better, I'll accept it.
Yeah.
This is the,
What would you say to someone who's like kind of like on the edge? So they're like, oh, I kind of think Krishna's real, but at the same time I don't. And
Are you speaking for yourself?
I've kind of like, at times, yeah. Like, I don't know.
I mean,
I've experienced it, but at the same time, I don't know.
Yeah, so that's natural, isn't it? You don't expect someone to be like, 'cause it says too much devotion is a sign of a thief, and intelligence. Someone who's intelligent doesn't accept blindly. They ask questions. And, you can go into it cautiously. But like Srila Prabhupada mentioned in the start of the Bhagavad Gita, he says just, while reading this Gita, I just theoretically accept that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just for the sake of reading it. Like suspend your disbelief. in order to get the most out of this book, you need to read it as if, at least as if Krishna was God. And then read the Gita and at least let Krishna explain himself. We all want to be understood, and that give Krishna the chance to explain himself before you completely dismiss it. I think that's fair. And I think whenever, if doubts do naturally come up, then doing the spirit, chanting Hare Krishna or reading what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, and especially what Prabhupada talks about him. Prabhupada really has this power to really give faith. Then naturally you'll feel that relationship with Krishna mature again. It's like any relationship, there's a constant element of striving. You never reach a plateau. It's not like, I did this real nice thing for my girlfriend and I took her and we had a real nice Valentine's Day and I took her to Dubai or whatever and we had a real nice time and she loved it and that's it now. I don't have to do anything else again now because I've got that in the bank and job done. But no, you need to do that again. You need to do lots of different things. You need to try and keep the flame alive, keep the relationship alive. The same thing with spiritual life. It's not like, I've surrendered to Krishna now and that's it. It's like breathing. It's constant endeavor and constant dynamic relationship between us and Krishna.
I think it's also like what we talked about last podcast, Sambandha Abhideya Prayojana, like knowledge, acting on the knowledge and getting realization. It's like reps. Like you go to the gym every day and you get stronger each time. Mm-hmm. And it's like that, like maybe you've been going to the gym for 6 months and you're a certain size. But like if you keep going and keep going, you get stronger and stronger and stronger. So it's like that kind of faith develops through reps, isn't it? Like repetition. Mm-hmm. Like for me at least. It's like you keep trying, you're in your ashram, you're going for it, and then maybe you go to New Vraj Dham and you have some experience which is just like, whoa. And then you keep going and keep going and keep going. And then you're like stood on a bucket in Sainsbury's and you're just like, whoa. Like blissed out. Yeah. Or you keep going. It's like you have these little prayojanas, like these little moments of, or you're reading a book, and those things build up. And give you that confidence that this is real actually. Like it's too many of these little miracles have happened now.
That's right. Again, like when we're revamping Atma, for example, and T Krishna, we want to have this idea of body, mind, soul, put it all together, because in the Bhagavad Gita it talks about the modes of nature. You have goodness, passion, ignorance. You have different like sort of lifestyles, and Krishna explains that knowledge is actually like state specific, or condition specific. Knowledge isn't just, I read this book and I get this information content and I can repeat it to someone like a parrot and then I've got knowledge. But real knowledge is described that actually it depends on your consciousness, it depends on the modes or your lifestyle, whether how you can, assimilate knowledge or not. It's not, it is condition specific. It's not just absorbing writing on a wall. And I think so that's part of, if I want to develop knowledge, and especially spiritual knowledge, then it's not just putting my nose in a book, but I have to look about my whole lifestyle, my whole senses, what's the conditions of my senses and consciousness, so I can actually receive and assimilate knowledge. And then that takes time. It takes a sort of system of purification of the heart, purification of our lifestyle. And then the heart and mind just become illuminated with knowledge. It's the Teshyama Rukam Partam, Ham Ganja Atmanaha, Nishi Asman Bhavasto Gyana, Deepena Bhashvita, something like that. Krishna says, I illumine their heart with the light, the torch, the lamp of transcendental knowledge. And in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna goes through all these different sacrifices. He said that the householder will sacrifice this, the monk sacrifices that. He says all types of sacrifice, they're meant to actually, in the end, bring transcendental knowledge. And we have a Bhagavad Gita here, actually, and he says there's nothing... there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Such knowledge is the mature fruit of all mysticism. So all your mysticism endeavors have borne fruit. And one who has become accomplished in the practice of devotional service enjoys this knowledge within himself in due course of time. A faithful man who is dedicated to transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge. And having achieved it, he quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace
I was actually reading that through them verses yesterday, and I like what you just said. Like I read, but like how all these sacrifices and anything you do is ultimately to, like you said, one thing that was like, oh, even like mystic yoga is all to like bring you to Krishna. And I was like, oh, and actually like I was thinking how it made sense of like everything I was doing was all just to kind of bring me to come into Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, it's called there's a yoga ladder.
Yeah,
So everything has a, might be different yogas. They look different, and they're different, but there are different rungs on this yoga ladder. But the pinnacle is Krishna. Yogam Abhisarvesham. So of all yogis, the one who knows me is the best.
It's nice as well. Prabhupada always points us in that direction constantly.
Yeah.
Like you'll read a verse and you think, oh yeah, it's saying that I can do something material. But then Prabhupada will just like say, don't do material things, do Krishna. Like it's like it keeps like because you were talking about last week in the Ishopanishad about material and spiritual side by side. If you cultivate them side by side, then you'll kind of get to the end of it. So I read that thinking, what does that mean? Does that mean I can get more tattoos or something like that? Or, like I was looking for that, like I was looking for the green light from Prabhupada to get into the material stuff a bit more. But he was kind of saying like, yeah, we have to do the bare minimum of our material things to keep ourselves together and like keep it afloat in the material world. But really the goal of life is Krishna. And I was like, that's quite demanding. Like that's what that means. It's like, oh yeah, okay, fine. It's like, okay, yeah. But that's why we need to keep coming back to Prabhupada's books to keep that reminder in the forefront, because otherwise you can easily come up with your own little philosophy and justify any action that you want to do in life, and just pretend that it's Krishna consciousness, or do you know what I mean? Like people do that as well. It's the most dangerous kind of.
Yeah, people use Krishna consciousness to get out of Krishna consciousness.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not good.
This is another. I just quickly add something else as well, because this purport to the verse we just read. So actually both purports. Let me read this, because this is terms of like, because there's a difference between faith and knowledge, right? So faith, you might believe something. Knowledge is like a realization, or vigyan. So gyan and vigyan. So one is theoretical understanding, the other one is practical experience. Okay, so we just read that verse. In this world, there's nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Right? This is from the purport of Bhagavad Gita. When we speak of transcendental knowledge, we do so in terms of spiritual understanding. As such, there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Ignorance is the cause of our bondage, and knowledge is the cause of our liberation. This knowledge is the mature fruit of devotional service, and when one is situated in transcendental knowledge, he need not search for peace elsewhere, for he enjoys peace within himself. In other words, this knowledge and peace culminate in Krishna consciousness. That is the last word in the Bhagavad Gita. And the next purport. Such knowledge and Krishna consciousness can be achieved by a faithful person who believes firmly in Krishna. So you start off with faith. No one expects you to be certain at first. But like with that, okay, I have faith that, like you said, faith is needed for knowledge. You have faith that the experiment's going to happen in whatever form of branch of materialistic knowledge. You have faith, and then when you write it down and perform it, you get, okay, yeah, he was right. My lecturer is right. So here Prabhupada say, one is called a faithful man who thinks that simply by acting in Krishna consciousness, he can attain the highest perfection. This faith is attained by the discharge of devotional service and by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, which cleanses one's heart of all material dirt. Over and above this, one should control the senses. A person who is faithful to Krishna and who controls the senses can easily attain perfection in the knowledge of Krishna consciousness without delay. Wow. So here he's saying, there's faith, and you need not just enough faith to implement the practice, and then you get transcendental knowledge. And transcendental knowledge, he's saying, is more than just book knowledge. It's actually accompanied by this sublime feeling of satisfaction and happiness, and that's how you know this is real knowledge, because it has these symptoms to it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not just
Tarkanath's been calling that the leap of faith a lot in his talks, right?
Yeah, I always think of Indiana Jones and the Holy Grail. Is the Holy Grail?
Yeah.
He gets that step. Remember, he has like some trials before he gets to the treasure room
into space or something, isn't it?
Yeah, and he just you have to take this plunge, and then and then there's like a hidden pathway there.
We were saying about the other day, weren't we? Like how the truth's everywhere you see it. Like
the truth's there.
like you get all these like little pointers in these like films and stuff of like what's like it's like a funny little joke like
Yeah. It is. It's like
and in songs and
yeah, it's all that's what Vaishesha Prabhu said his favourite sport is when he goes to the supermarket. He likes to listen to the songs and try to think about how they're related to Krishna.
Yeah.
Like like everything's about Krishna really.
yeah.
It's just you need a bit of the knowledge to actually
Everything comes from Krishna.
Yeah.
It's cool. Anyway, thanks for listening everyone. This is
Time right now, is it?
yeah, definitely.
How long are we going for? Yeah.
Well,
An hour and 10, something like that.
I think it's less than it says because
All right.
Yeah.
Because we've only got a certain amount per week we can do, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay.
we did announce the Be a Monk course. On this recording, didn't we?
Yeah. Be a Monk course is there's
Starting
only
this weekend, we've got ladies spots are full. But any boys want to get in contact, or anyone gets in contact anyway, and we'll get you ready for the next one. But thank you very much, Jack. I'm sure we can. I'm sure there'll be another time where we can dig deeper into your heart, and you can share more of your wonderful realizations. But yeah, it's been a pleasure to have you. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Bhakta-rupa. Hare Krishna.
Namah Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami